morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, September 30th, 2021, and we are here for a work session. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ken, can you please take the lead?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ken. Our first discussion for today is concerns matters surrounding the American Rescue Fund. Bill Wolgar, he's here with us today, and who is our financial administrator, and Deputy Town Attorney Anne-Marie Prudenti, and also our CPA Director. Dawn, can you come forward to discuss this topic, please? Good morning.
Good morning.
You might want to give a little historical perspective, Dawn.
Okay, so this American Rescue Plan funding is from the federal government, was provided to the town. The total amount was 1 point,
No, 3.6.
3,675,000.
okay. And there needed to be a plan to spend it, and so we worked on a plan. You had assigned us the job of working on that plan, and we've been working on that for a while, discussing different projects and thinking about them. And we came up with a list, and that's what we're here to discuss today.
Okay, so let's just be clear. It's 3.6 million over the course of two
2
payments.
years, correct.
One in 2021 and one in 2022. So we
Correct.
don't have
That's
the
correct.
actual funds. And we did create, or I created this committee, which is very appropriate because we had to deal with some legal restraints, I guess, for lack of a better word. Anne Marie and Dawn, you being the CPA director and dealing with grants, fell within you, and the financial administrator. So I think we have a really good committee to address this with a lot of knowledge. And so thank you for your work on this.
No problem.
So I'll just advise the town board that the supervisor is absolutely correct. There are legal components to it, and so obviously we had to assume that responsibility. And in addition, what we tried to do collectively and collaboratively was pool our knowledge regarding what different departments needed, what they desired, and what the town needed, facilities, infrastructure, and we participated in webinars, conference calls with the federal government and the state on this matter, plus went through volumes of documents and regulation, and I had emailed all of you our recommendation. And we put it forth in a report document, and I provided it to all of you more than 2 weeks ago. So it is our recommendation, and I just need the town board to know that we actually met numerous times and revised it numerous times, because while it appears very simple, even in my write-up to the town board, this qualifies, this doesn't. There's a lot of, I don't want to say nuances, because it's really not the right word. The regulations then get even more refined and more specific. So what would happen was, we thought we had an outline and recommended spending plan, and we would go back and check it against the regulations, and we would have to amend it and change it because it didn't qualify. So what we attempted to do in all of these recommendations was to be conservative. And when I say conservative in that we were very confident that our selections, choices, funding amounts would, without doubt, meet the federal requirements. If you fail to spend the money or spend the money appropriately according to the regulations, you fail in that manner, you have to repay that money. If you fail to report, there's a lot of reporting that's going to go into every time we spend the money that Bill is going to have to undertake. If we fail and we don't do that adequately, we have to give back the money. So our categories that we recommended, we did a lot of research on to make sure that it actually fit within the legal parameters for the expenditure of the funds. And I say that why, I was kind of pleased because no one came back to any of us with either a negative report or request for a change. We took months on this, am I right?
Yes.
So we are very confident that our conservative approach was the right approach, conservative being making certain that it would qualify for the funding. In addition, you'll note we built in parameters in our recommendations wherein, for instance, we recommended programs for the paralabeled, assistance to business entities and not-for-profits. And you'll notice in those sections, we are recommending that the town board actually have an application process in place for the entities. This way, they're required to supply us with the paperwork because, once again, we will be required, every amount of money we spend, even if we're giving it to a not-for-profit, we have to meet that, quote, reporting hurdle. And Bill has to put together those documents. So in the application process, it will really assist the town and the financial administrator filing the requisite reports with the federal government. So,
And similar to CDBG funding, we have methods of submission for reimbursement. So these things are important. If we don't do it right and cross all our Ts and dot our Is, we won't get the funding. So we have to be careful that the entities that are selected are those that we can rely on to do these things correctly and follow instructions and respond in a timely way. So that was part of the consideration.
Can the funds be distributed conditionally so that we cover
So-
our,
The way
filing issues?
just like CDBG, which we use the county contract because they're our administrator, so we use their contract with the subrecipients. So basically, any subrecipient of this funding from us will have a, application, a decision, and a process that they are going to contract to follow. And if they can't follow the contract, then they won't get the funding. So that's how we protect ourselves. But that sounds maybe overly simplistic because the paperwork is not fun.
Very intensive.
Yes, and
Yeah.
as it should be, it's taxpayer money, so we're protecting the taxpayer money, and we don't mind doing that, but it's sometimes hard for people to understand the actual depth of documentation we need to provide.
yeah, the regulations are really specific and concrete, and it's not, there's certain proof we would have to require from entities that we're distributing the funds to. It's required under the law, under the statute. And so to disperse them ahead of time or in anticipation of receiving it leaves the municipality vulnerable. Because if we can't get that paperwork and they haven't really qualified pursuant to the regulations, you're going to have to pay back that money. So,
I'm sure there'll be an audit on that also later on.
oh,
Undoubtedly,
without
there'll be an
question.
audit.
Sure, you can count on that.
Yep,
They actually,
sure.
they audit as you go. That's why we are recommending the plan we're recommending, because we think each and every category and funding we recommended qualifies. And we tried to kind of give the.
Diversify it.
Yeah, diversify it and give the town board the federal rationale that allows us to recommend the funding for that particular category. And the supervisor's right, we tried to really do a broad sweep and capture as much of the town and the community as we could. We were also mindful, there have been, I always get the CBD,
C, Community Development
Development
Block,
Block Grant Funds.
CDBG.
Sounds like a song.
CARES
Or it used to
Act
be a
money
club.
that went to certain entities. We're looking to actually really focus and capture those entities that weren't provided for and were particularly vulnerable during COVID. And we write that up to you, that was part of our basis. We considered everything we could, every department that we could, so.
And I also, I'm happy to see that the para-disabled are on there. I know we spoke about it, and that's important. And Jamesport, they're gonna get a new cupola, I guess. And that's great, we're gonna work on that. And just be mindful that some of the money, one of the primary requests from the federal government was to try to use some of the funds towards water infrastructure. And across the board, many towns are using it for, not all of it, and so a substantial amount of money is going to our water infrastructure where it belongs, so we can build it, and we always have clean, pure water, plenty of it. So it's good to see that, that we are, it's being put exactly where we need it.
Yes.
Great.
And Bill in particular was mindful of projects that would continue to pay dividends, so the things that we could purchase with that funding, and maybe you can just elaborate on that idea, but it was important and it helps us stretch the money as far as possible.
Right, so anything that improves our infrastructure is going to help us into the future, not just this year. So not just one-time things, but whether it's equipment or things like the water tower or whatever else that we're using it for, helps us in future years, not just in '21 and in '22.
Long-term planning.
Yeah, for the water tank, for the recommendation of the funding for that, I know it's a large amount, but that improvement, that storage, water storage, was called out from the get-go with the American Rescue Funds. One of the first webinars that we participated in, and we could actually type in questions and go back and forth, was one of the first things we talked about. And the other municipalities who were on the line and participating in the webinar, everybody was really excited to move in that direction. Why? I'll just highlight, and if I say anything wrong, I ask Frank Mancini to come, because sometimes the little knowledge I have is dangerous. But this move on the town's part is really going to improve the town exponentially. One, in the Wading River area, I'm sure the town board is well aware, we purchase water from Suffolk County Water Authority. What will this allow us to do? No longer the need to purchase water. This town board has expressed a commitment to the residents south of EPCAL in Manorville and River Road. What would this storage tank allow us to do? Have plenty of water for them. And that issue will not need to be addressed if we get the grant funding. We'll have adequate water. It'll also help us town-wide with redundant events, whether they're fire events or failures. Because if one part of the system goes down, you're putting the strain on another part. The ability to have this water storage is going to actually address and improve those type of events that could occur and those type of events that we must plan for and that our water district is working on for. So,
Well, Amber, we do purchase water from Suffolk County, but they purchase from us also. Is that correct?
Some years, it depends on the year.
It
Yeah.
depends on the year, but,
Neither one of us purchased very much this year.
okay, and we haven't purchased much this year, so, okay.
well, I don't know, how much have we purchased this year?
About 5 million because it was wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. So it's really a win-win for the town of Riverhead to actually put funding towards a water storage tank.
And I think it's a great idea. And I also want to note that we do have the funds. It's no longer, we're waiting for the funds. When are we going to get it? When can we start these projects? So they waited until we actually had the funds to present before you. And
Right.
so we do have the funds, and as long as they, the
Right.
people request and go through all
We received the first half.
the first half.
Yep, the
And,
first half,
so we do have them,
1.7.
and people should submit for them.
Yeah, so
I think
anyway,
I think Tim was looking for a copy of the breakdown, so Devin, can we give him a copy? Sure. And Alex will probably want one also, so, yeah.
We'll get that from these guys.
yeah, so you want a copy of the report we gave to the town board?
That would be great.
Okay.
Any suggestions, comments from the board?
It's good news.
I have a couple of things. First of all, it's exciting that we got this money. It's really great for all the towns. And I also say that I appreciate your work, and I think that the right people were put together to look into this. I just have a couple of questions, and then, we can address it now, or if you want to get back to me on some of them, that's okay as well. So just have notes on a couple of the sections. On the government loss revenue, that's 2020, correct? That's 2020?
Yes, they do a calculation of what we lost in 2020 and our historical increase in revenue, and it's actually a formula that comes from the federal government.
Okay, so in looking at it, I see that you're saying we lost 1.8 million, decreased in the general fund revenue, but when I'm looking through, I'm seeing 740,000 loss in the general revenue.
The calculation, what we lost in the general fund for that year is the total revenue. So when they calculate what our losses are over the years, they have a grid that goes over the last 5 years to see what our losses are. And it's a formula calculated from the federal government. I can give you that calculation.
Okay,
The money we
It's a
lost was,
very-
the money we lost was actually in the 2021 estimated, or the budget, in our estimated revenues.
right.
So the 2020, we lost X amount of money. 2021, our estimated revenues were X. So that's all goes into the formula. So we have a 5-year sliding scale, and they say this is what you could have anticipated, therefore you can have this. The 750 is a conservative amount because we don't want to make it higher, and then when the numbers come in, another number we have to give back because it was really 720. So that is the number that we're using for our lost revenue.
Yeah, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, so without a doubt, Councilwoman, the government gives us a formula, and Bill had to plug it in order to calculate that number. We went back and forth, and I think the number is probably closer to 850,000. However, again, town board, we were trying to be conservative. I didn't want to have to hit that mark. So instead, we intentionally made it 750,000. Why? We knew without doubt we had that loss of revenue.
And the classifications that we're showing here are basically, they have to qualify for those. So since we have other classifications that equal all but 750, there was no need to go in and say, well, we want 800 of the 850 or whatever it may be. So that allows us, these are all estimates. Some of these projects They're just estimates. There could be money left over. Some of them can go over if the numbers, when we actually do the project, come in a little higher. It gives us enough of a leeway to go in and change these numbers as we need to. So, for instance, if one of the projects we're doing at one of the ball fields goes up by 5 or 10%, that gives us a little bit leeway to do that. We have some money in there to do that. But the projects that we're doing are all based on estimates. I think it was as of May of 2021 that we got these estimates. We may not do it until June of 2022, and if the cost goes up, it's all built in there.
And you know what, you just mentioned ball fields. We've been working for 6 months trying to find lights for them and the scorecard. And I know, Dawn, you've been working and they've made the request, and it's good to see that's finally happening. We're gonna have lights at the ball fields. Children will be able to play at night, young adults. Also, COVID, you know, and it is COVID related, where you want people outside in the open space, and our youth who were deprived of sports, actually, last year. So it's great news.
It
I'm
also
ecstatic.
stretches the revenue because we get to expand the opportunities for people to use those fields that pay. So we get additional revenue for that too. So it's a win-win on that way.
So I believe I'm understanding that the government loss revenue is not based on an actual thing, it's a projection formula, is what you're working off of. That's why I'm coming up with different numbers.
Correct, Catherine. And what it is, to be clear, I think when you look at the formula, it actually specifies what you may consider a lost revenue. And then you actually plug in an input. So building department fees, recreation department fees, not everything under that category that we may typically consider a loss qualifies, correct? Yeah, so that's why probably the number is different to you.
Okay, and then to jump over to the recreation one, and yes, COVID was a time that we really saw that people needed to get outside and recreate, and of course, that's something that benefits all of our community. And I believe those lights have started already, I think. That was a start. Anyway, I'm excited to see the lights there, and I'm always hopeful at some point down the road we can put the lights at EPCAL. But I did think
Yeah,
that.
Catherine, I just want to say, there is no lighting there, and we've been looking for 6 months for lighting.
Well, I know we have
funding.
been, right.
Yeah,
What I meant
there
is
is
that
none, yeah.
that's a project that we have been looking at.
Well, I have, okay.
But I
go
did
ahead.
think that we had didn't we approve some of this through the community benefits? We met a couple weeks ago.
So what was approved through the community benefit agreement was, and that's the Nextera first payment of community benefit funds, was $160,000 for playground at EPCAL, ages 5 through 12, I believe, $5,000 for a scoreboard, and $100,000 for the cupola. Why? The cupola we know it needs to be done. It's dangerous, and it's a recreation building. You know, we have people, obviously, recreation programs within the building, recreation programs outside the building. It has to be replaced. It can't even be repaired. But under American Rescue Funds, which this is one we originally thought we could fund it, didn't qualify. So community benefit funds funded $100,000 for the cupola as well.
Right, and certainly I know about the cupola because we had an individual in Jamesport, I think she's maintained the gazebo and the gardens, and she wanted to pay to have the cupola painted, but Drew had told me, we can't even get up there because it's dangerous even for someone to work up there, it might disintegrate, so.
And just from a grants point of view, when we talked about this, you can't get grant money to maintain things that you have. That's just not something that's available because the granting entity wants you to do something new or something, improved, not maintain what you have, and they certainly hope that you maintain the things that you already have. So it's not something we can get grant money for, so that's why we look to community benefit, and probably the reason that legislation doesn't allow that type of
Well,
thing.
yes, and I read this, and I know that these cannot be recurring expenses, these are one-shot deals.
Right.
So over to water, the water infrastructure one. I know that we had already applied for a grant, and I believe 1.6 million was used as a match from the American Rescue Plan in Matterville. Can you refresh my memory on that?
No, so the application in Manorville for the town of Riverhead's portion, don't quote me on the exact number, was approximately 9 million. And on the Brookhaven side, was 6.5 or 7 million. So the town of Riverhead made its application for the homes, 62 and another 34 for those homes in the amount of approximately 9 million plus. Brookhaven and Suffolk County Water Authority made their application for their 6.5. Right now, we believe that the highest funding award that will be granted under that funding source is going to be 3.5. I think the town is optimistic that we will succeed in that, and then we're already moving forward with a application through state funding to essentially match that.
Are you saying the 3.5 is a match from the American Rescue?
No,
3.5, there were community project funding opportunities through all of our federal legislators. So Zeldin's office, Gillibrand, and Schumer, and we applied to all three. The House projects are a little ahead time-wise than the Senate project, so we heard back from Congressman Zeldin's office, who's been incredibly helpful to us in working through the application process, that the Appropriations Committee had recommended 3.5 of the total funding that we had requested from them. So it was about right about half of what we had asked for, understanding that we would be applying, and also we haven't heard from Schumer's office or Gillibrand yet, so that's still potentially out there. We could get additional from there, and the new funding that we're gonna apply for now this November should be able to cover that if we can be awarded that funding. That's the difficulty, because the grants, they come in, what do we call them, rounds. We call them rounds of grants, and every year it's a new round. And so the rounds normally, we had thought would be March, but COVID changed everything. And certainly the most recent email we got last week, which I mentioned earlier, that round's going to be, it's open and we can submit by November 22nd. And because you've done all the work already for this project, including the map and plan, all the engineering is done, we're ready, which is good news, because that you need that to be done to ask for the money, because they need to understand the total cost of the project.
It's also important to note that that's why it benefits all the residents up there from both towns, Riverhead and Brookhaven, to submit 2 separate grants so that each town can get $3.5 million. So overall, you're getting $7 million for a project, as opposed to if one entity put in the grant to do the entire project, it's going to cost the taxpayers a lot more money. So it is
Correct.
important to do this through both towns working together.
Yeah.
How long has this issue risen?
The Manorville
Yeah,
water
addressing the Manorville.
issue, that's a,
We're talking many, many years, correct?
well, I think they've been advocating through the RAB for the Navy and to increase their efforts regarding testing. I can tell you, your water district superintendent, as soon as he came on board and reviewed and looked at all those documents, he's been advocating federal and statewide for expanding the testing, both with respect to, typically, is it a mile, Frank?
Yes,
Yes.
just want to get a sense how long we have been, this issue has been going on.
Okay, so the Manorville issue's been a 20-year issue.
Oh,
with
it is a
Grumman.
20-year
So
issue.
what's
Okay.
new, though, is the detections of emerging contaminants
Right.
like PFAS and 1,4-dioxane.
Okay.
That's relatively new. I don't know that the data discovered so far was a real game changer there yet,
Okay.
but that's why we're pushing for more investigations and more sampling. I'm trying to bring in the USGS at this point, but it's been a long-standing issue. This is the most action that's been taken in 20 years. I've actually dealt with these folks at different places that I've worked over the last 20 years.
Okay. All right, great, thank you,
So
Frank.
there's no grant matching from the
No,
American Rescue
no, this is
on any of them.
correct. So all the recommendations here, now I understand your question better.
Right.
So all the recommendations here are standalone. So the Water District project, the storage tank, the Cranberry Street sewer project, we're recommending this town board fund those with American Rescue funds. It's not dependent on a grant or another moving part somewhere. It's,
Yeah, but the federal funding that we requested does have a 20% match. So when we wrote and requested that funding, we suggested that we would use loans or other grant funds or whatever. I think if you get this funding, the project moves forward, and however we get it done, we get it done. But
So there
that's.
could be grant matching that comes from the American Rescue, or would that be bonding?
Well,
Ready?
it could be bonding
Yeah.
loans, it could be a bunch of different
They're
sources that we're looking
separate.
at.
This is funds that we receive, that we have, and they're being allocated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one of the, obviously, this issue is one of the things that we considered deeply when we thought about this funding, whether it could be used in part or entirely for this purpose. But, we have been, and I think at the Water Forum, I had prepared sort of a timeline on the things that we had done, and it's quite a good list of activity there, including putting ourselves on the EFC, which is a funding list, and applying for the community project funding through our legislators, and then whatever comes up through Water Infrastructure Improvement Act or WQIP or whatever other program we can apply for. Obviously, not only are we ready to apply, we are going to apply.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just on the code, I think we're adding a code enforcement officer as I read it, which is good. But that's not a recurring expense? How do
So,
we figure that out so it's not a recurring expense?
so it's interesting because the restrictions regarding recurring expense, you have to read the totality of the law because that's not entirely accurate. And the reason why the federal legislation talks about, it's really alerting municipalities and local governments. If you use the funds for reoccurring expense, when the funds run out, you're still going to have that expense. Here, the restrictions or guidelines say, if you were impacted, which we were, code enforcement, I mean, think about it. When the town of Riverhead went on lockdown, so did just about probably every single solitary business. Code enforcement certainly could not go out and knock on doors. Everybody was essentially in, I call it lockdown, but, it was mandatory. And Justice Court was closed. So we have a justified backlog, delay in enforcement, that we can justify this position. And I don't know, we worked through it and I could provide you those guidelines on
Okay,
that.
just because
It's all,
they're so
actually,
specific
wait,
about
let me say
non-recurring
this.
things.
When I emailed the town board, you have the guidelines, actually, I'm standing corrected.
Yeah, I read them.
Right, so they're in there. You all have them, I emailed you the site.
The code enforcement piece of this, if everyone remembers, there was code enforcement in the 2020 budget, which we never hired, okay? We never hired it, so it was never, we never hired it, it was never spent. If I remember correctly, there were 2 positions. We could not afford to put them in the 2021 budget. This is for both '21 and '22. So since we hired that person at some point in the last month or so, piece of it is for 2021, the other piece is for 2022, and by 2023, we have to have that as part of our operating budget, okay? So it was a short-term piece that we already had in the budget, but we had to cut it because of COVID. That's the reason why it qualifies for that in the short term. We're not hiring 17 people that we expect to pay in 2023 when this money is gone. It was one position that we had to cut from the budget because of COVID.
And once
That we
again,
didn't spend, I should
we
say.
were
cut.
conservative. It's one position. Again, with that conservative mindset for qualification.
Yeah, and that's a department that actually generates revenue anyway, so by 2022, there could be funds that are being generated for those positions anyway.
Yep. And we'll have 2022 to know
We'll have
that
2
position is
years of
bringing in a
it.
certain amount of
Yeah.
money and budget for that.
Yeah, of the
2023.
budget.
Well, and that's a that is a department that we've been trying to add to. And I think that department was stretched thin, so I just wanted to make sure that we were gonna be able to keep that up. Last thing, and once again, I thank you guys for your work, just last thing, if we could take a look or tweak in any way, I think it would be nice to be able to put some money back in the pockets of the property owners, if we could figure out a way or tweak things in some way that we could give a check, because we know that everybody suffered during COVID and all the residents were impacted. So if there was some way to tweak it and, put a check back in the pocket of the property owners.
Catherine.
A last thought.
Catherine, I'm releasing the budget after this town meeting. You cannot use rescue funds to reduce property taxes.
No, I didn't say reduce property taxes.
Well, you said put
A
checks in the.
relief, I was speaking as a relief
Okay,
check.
let's just leave it there.
Not property
These rescue
taxes.
funds, okay, let me just clarify, these rescue funds, it's actually illegal to use rescue funds to reduce property
But
taxes.
you can't even distribute them to people.
I didn't
No,
mention.
we can't
that-
distribute and put it back, as you said, in people's pockets, but we're gonna go there and we're
So
gonna move
can I,
on.
can I just
Yeah,
address?
and please don't cut me off, let me just finish. I wasn't suggesting to offset the property taxes. I was saying, looking at people who are, residents here and that are property owners. Not as a matter of offsetting taxes, just as a matter of relief.
So,
And I think that's different.
so again, I'm going to state to the board, we really tried to keep it tight and conservative. And, I hear what everybody is saying, so the regulations prohibit a municipality from directly or indirectly reducing taxes, utilizing American Rescue Funds. Also, again, it was difficult for us in evaluating, well, was every resident negatively impacted? Maybe yes, maybe no. So instead, we really just tried to be conservative in our approach. And,
And everything's for the common good of all of those
Correct.
citizens
Yes.
anyway.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It will reduce
correct.
it will reduce the entire amount you have to spend on these things by
It helps
this
them
amount.
'cause
So it benefits the taxpayers, for sure.
the rescue funds pay for the water, that means the residents don't have to in terms of
Correct.
increasing their infrastructure. So it's a direct, it's directly helpful to every resident.
And
in this
again,
town.
Bill's point that we want to use that money on things that will stretch longer than this fiscal year, that will save us money in future fiscal years, is also,
And you're doing improvements to one of your most central parks, actively used, young and old, Stotsky, and the highly used, trafficked Veterans Memorial Park. So the community does get that benefit, and, we will continue to be creative and benefit the community with community benefit funds and community benefit projects.
So just to go back, Anne Marie, and I don't want it misconstrued, I was not saying to offset taxes. If we chose to, we could have given a relief check if we chose to legally. Well, we're giving relief, in other areas. And yes, I do think the whole community was impacted by COVID, and I do agree that, in the things that we're giving here, that everyone gets benefits from all those things as well. I understand that.
Yeah, and I think potentially, and I haven't done the math, but if we took the 1.5 million and divided it by our 35,000 residents, it would probably be a very small amount in a check that they might get, if that were even possible. I'm not sure if that
It's
is.
not possible to give these funds to residents with no action.
That's what I'm checking with Anne Marie.
Okay,
If you
so,
wanna wait and get back to me?
No, I'm gonna just send you the documents, I
Okay.
have them up. Bill and I went through them yesterday. I'm gonna repeat to the town board. We did not recommend that, and there's a reason why we didn't recommend it. And I'll send the sections of law, and,
Well, you're saying it wasn't recommended, but you're not saying it's illegal. That's what I'm asking.
I'm saying, I'll state it again. You may not use American Rescue Funds to directly or indirectly reduce taxes. I've also stated that when you are giving funding, you can't just give funding to somebody. You have to show and be able to demonstrate the negative economic impact directly related to COVID. I don't know, we didn't feel comfortable, so we didn't spend a lot of time on that. Instead, we focused on what we truly felt the town board could be confident that you're spending the money appropriately and we wouldn't have to return the money. Because if we fail, the money's going back.
And there would be a large
So-
expense in.
No one,
yeah.
no town.
Well, and
in
Anne Marie, I'm
Suffolk
not
can-
saying I keep repeating it.
I know,
My
you
point
want me
was-
to say that I feel we could do it, and I'm saying to
We
you,
can't.
I think
I did not
You're saying
feel,
you didn't recommend it.
It's
if
not
I
a
could-
recommendation, and I just want to add, we spoke in all the supervisors who have received the rescue fund. We all spoke about it. You can't just ad hoc and say, all right, let's send every resident a check without no compensation of seeing what's going on and how we're improving our town. This is for COVID-related losses or COVID-related enhancements, and it's not, Catherine, you have to understand, we can't just write out a check to everyone from the rescue. It has to be documented, it has to be substantiated, and the regulations are very, very, very stringent, and no town is doing that, and in fact, most of us said it's illegal to do that, most supervisors, so, you want to add?
Yeah, so just to clarify, in order to spend this money, we need to meet the regulations. One way that we can spend it, again, is on, let's say, water infrastructure. That regulation just has to qualify as that type of an expense. If we're giving money, let's say, to the para-able, there's an application that they have to file to say, you meet this qualification, so we can give that money away. If we're just giving every resident a check, then in essence, we are indirectly using this money to reduce their tax levy, because we're not giving it to someone who didn't pay taxes and isn't a resident.
Or you
So,
need 33,000 individual applications.
or you need 33,
And then you
exactly.
could
Yeah,
give them-
so-
and you
And
could
we
give
have
them
better ways to spend
$45
this
apiece.
money.
It's
Yeah.
really, it's a good amount of money, and we're grateful to have it. It is not a tremendous windfall, for
so
sure.
I want to just put this issue to rest. Assistance to households. Assistance to households or populations facing negative economic impacts due to COVID is an eligible use. This includes food, assistance, rent, counseling, legal aid to prevent eviction or homelessness, cash assistance, As discussed above, in considering whether a potential use is eligible under this category, a recipient must consider whether and to the extent which the household has experienced a negative economic impact from the pandemic. In assessing whether a household or population experienced economic harm as a result, and then it goes on to say how you evaluate it. That's why we didn't recommend it.
No one has.
No replication.
Yeah, because not everyone in Riverhead, not everyone on my block experienced the economic impact the same way or at all.
Okay,
And
I
I
mean-
think
And then
that,
the expenditures that are recommended are really fair across the board to everyone. We're not, discriminating or potentially making an incorrect decision regarding
It's-
that criteria.
Simple math, even if you could send everybody a check, then we're gonna send them a bill for the water tower to be built
Right,
next
exactly.
year. So what's the
Which will be
difference?
at a higher price, much higher price.
So that's, it helps them, it helps every single resident.
Okay. Are we done? Everyone?
As long as,
Well, you guys did a great job. I know you put a tremendous amount of time into this, and I think it's great. And I'm sure if any other board members have any questions, they'll reach out to you, and good job.
Thank you for
Very
your
much.
work.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for sending that to us, Anne Marie, so
Yes,
Yeah.
we were able to peruse through that and
Right,
be
right.
Yes.
prepared for your conversation today.
Good.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving forward, Ray Coyne is here with us to discuss the tennis and pickleball courts in South Jamesport. Ray, there you are. Can you come forward?
Ray Coyne Show,
The Ray.
starring
sounds
Ray
like a-
Coyne.
Like a stage name, Ray Coyne Show.
This is not the show I wanted to be at today, I'll tell you that.
Oh, why is that?
I'm gonna find out.
Oh,
Uh-oh. This came in
you were
yesterday.
smiling, I
like-
thought it was gonna be good stuff.
I was like, okay, relax yourself.
That's right.
Open it up.
Interesting stuff.
Thank you, Ray.
I'll reference everything in this packet, it's quick. Thank you.
Okay,
I needed to show you figures, just to show you where I'm at. Okay. Let me just preface this with a story of how we got here.
okay.
Tennis ball, pickleball courts, South Jamesport, Statsky Park. It's a huge demand of the public to get these fixed. 13 or so years ago, we put tiles in, and the tiles have pretty much worn themselves down to where we have to replace them. So several months ago, April, May, we met with Land Tech, who's we use all the time for capital projects, to give us an assessment of the courts. We just wanted to resurface them. That was our goal. It would be cheap, 20 grand or so. Land Tech could not give us an accurate quote because we have to pull the tiles first. They cannot assess what's underneath. So, moving forward, we decided not to pull the tiles as the summer was launching. We knew it would take a long time to get this done. So we let the summer go through, and then Labor Day, I had then asked Buildings and Grounds to pull the tiles. They did. So now Land Tech came back and did their assessment, and I just recently got the quote, which I have attached here. It is a lot more than what we anticipated. The courts underneath are not in good shape. Even our town engineers, and I thought they were gonna come today, but Ken Testa originally said it doesn't, we're praying it doesn't look bad because it was all flat.
Right,
So, but when we did pull them up, it was a mess. It was a mess. So basically what I'm in a little bit of a jam now is that we don't have all the money for it. We allocated some of the money to different spots. Now, the spreadsheet that I have here, I'll go over quickly to tell you exactly how we got to this point, and then I'm going to ask the town board if we could move back some of the other projects that we're about to move forward to complete these projects. And the reason I say this is because I have received, countless emails and calls from pickleball players and tennis players that get this court done, especially in South Jamesport. there's probably a call out for my head out there if we don't get it soon. All right, the blue represents all the revenue that came in. The beige represents the projects that have been completed, so I'll go over that quickly. Park and rec fees, the beginning balance was $166,000. We closed out projects, this is several months ago, and it turned out to be $97,000 worth of that, and we had $264,000 to work with. The park signs cost $20,000, that's been completed, installed, and we're paying them now. The pickleball courts in Veterans Park, that's brand-new pickleball courts from scratch. PO completed, Land Tech is scheduling a job for October. We actually asked them to wait because we wanted to do South Jamesport first. Playground, Iron Pier Beach, 61,875, PO completed, installation just completed on Monday, and we are payment in process. So that's another, you guys, we're keeping that roped off until the town board wants to officially open that. Dog park water, $20,000, PO completed, installation complete. They were waiting on a permit, I don't know, from Suffolk Water or I forget who, but it should be done. So the water should be there. If not, it'll be there very soon. Everything is,
I know, I have to say, I check it all the time.
yeah, I pump it too.
I
and
got
Ken
over,
tells me.
everyone was so excited, and I got there and I was pumping it, it's not coming out, but they're, I don't know, I guess it's on the
Yeah, it's all, yeah, tangled up and
It just seems like it's taking so long.
I know.
2 years.
no, I know. It's been a long time and I'm happy to see they're there, but I'm hoping, and the way Ken spoke to me with the last couple of weeks, it's a matter of days before they get this permit and they can
The
open
pump,
up the
the
water.
pump is there, but
Yep.
I know that the water department's district's very busy right now, so when they can get to it, they're going to do it.
Okay. And then we received, this is Bill and I, we're talking about this $120,000 from the American Rescue Plan. I think you just recently discussed this, I guess previous one, of $120,000. That went into the basketball court, which is severely damaged down at Bayberry. It was dangerous. That has to totally be redone. The fences at Bayberry also have to be installed, new fences. The fences are worn down there. And then the resurfacing of the tennis courts. Last year, the Buildings and Grounds went in there, or had a contract to go in there and redo all the tennis courts. They're just in asphalt, and tennis players like to play on a different surface, so that's what resurfacing. So that was a price tag, $156,615. So then, highlighted in yellow is the resolution that was just passed. I have that in the packet as well, which funds the playgrounds at Veteran Park, the cupola, and the scoreboard at Stotsky. I've been in touch with Anne Marie several times. I misinterpreted her as far as where the money was coming from, you know, so many solar projects, and I wasn't sure which was which. We've been talking about this money, the original $350K that was going to be scheduled for recreation since May, so I had originally thought this was new money coming in from a different solar project, so I said, yeah, that's next on our list. But that apparently was supposed to go with the current solar money that we just received money for. So, so that, you see the community benefit fund in blue, that funds the three projects there. So in red is where the tennis courts come in now. We have $62,920 left from the original American Rescue Plan, but now Jamesport Tennis Court came back yesterday at $178,000 to, the entire court has to be fixed. This is Land Tech, it's on a Huntington Requirements contract, so we got the discount on it. The installation of a new fence, which I separated out, just in case we can't get to it, was $30,000. Now, Stotsky Park is at a $200,000, but that's the quote back in May. We removed the tiles at Stotsky. We do not believe it is half as bad as South Jamesport, but we're waiting for the quote from that. So I'm hoping and praying it's significantly less. So you can see where we're kind of jammed up here. So what I'm going to ask the town board is that if we can hold off the project, at least the playground project at Veterans Park, until the next set of money comes in, if we can edit that or rescind that particular resolution, so we can put the funding towards the tennis courts. That 160 combined with the 62 that is left will cover all of South Jamesport. And then hopefully the money, next round money comes in and that we can get Stansky next. South Jamesport has really been in demand, so I'm trying to get that done before it gets cold. Because again, I feel like since we moved the tiles, nobody can use the court. So we're in that dilemma now. So I'm trying to, there's so many moving parts here, so many different people involved. And trying to coordinate this has been very, very time-consuming and difficult. But this is the situation we're in. So I wanted to get even a recommendation from the town board of what I do at this point.
Working off the Huntington contract, that saves us money because Land Tech has already
Yeah.
committed to that contract for anybody that wants to work off of
Correct.
that. Are there any other contracts that are usable, or is that the only one, or we're
Well,
limited to that one?
Land Tech, this is the only one Land Tech has.
Oh, okay.
Land Tech is a reputable company. They've done a lot of projects here. They're really good at what they
Yeah,
do.
I'm very familiar with them.
And so when I originally went out, because we would have to go out to bid or get at least 3 quotes for the jobs, I looked around, I asked different superintendents in the different Long Island municipalities if anybody had a contract, and Huntington did. So the Atlantic bid for this
Bill?
requirements contract.
Bill?
Yeah, I know Laser does all things
Laser's
as
another
well.
one, yep.
I don't know if they have a contract out somewhere, but just to compare apples to apples, maybe that would be interesting.
Yeah, I sent this quote over to engineering as well. I asked them to break it all down just to make sure
Yep.
we're getting the right
Yep.
quote.
No, Land Tech is
Yeah.
top notch, no doubt about it, and when they do their job, it'll be done right.
Okay, and then supporting the documentation is the quote. I sent you the proposal from Land Tech, and then I also attached the resolution. So
Can
that's,
you just clarify, like, how did we get so far off against, I understand it wasn't, when you have to remove the tiles, the surface wasn't as good as I guess it was.
correct.
That's not all in the entire bid when they're bidding the entire project, or have, like, isn't there something that they're supposed to honor, a contract for the whole
Well,
project itself? So
they-
why are we off?
No, it's because the original estimate, the original thought process was we just need to resurface. That's like 20 grand. Just resurface it with the material.
Yeah.
And we honestly thought that the courts wouldn't be bad. You know, maybe a
Was
couple
no way to
patches here and
pull
there.
up some ahead of time and take
They'd
a
have to,
look?
no, they said the whole thing. We even asked other companies to come take a look. They're like, we're not taking a look until you pull the tile.
So it was an estimate, it wasn't a contract for the whole project?
No, not at
Like
all.
trying
This
to
is,
change, in other words,
yeah,
not
bas-
changing the terms of something.
Yeah, the
No,
scope of
they
the
didn't
work,
change
the
at all,
scope of the
no.
work went way
yeah,
beyond
yeah,
what they originally
yeah.
estimated.
And this may be simplistic, I'm not an engineer, but there was no way to like check at one corner and see how the tiles looked underneath or something like that?
No, and I asked Ken Testa, who is, excellent at his job, to take a look at the courts for me. This is months ago. He's been in the meetings with me with Land Tech. And he said, based off just the naked eye, it looks good because it's all flat. So it wasn't divots or anything like that. So we were just saying, okay, we're hoping the tiles get pulled up, and we just said maybe have to patch this, patch that, and then just resurface it. But when you go look at it, and it's open now, if you guys want to take a look anytime, it's in pretty bad shape.
What about the timing of this too? This is another thing that I just think is, we need to address. I mean, we're going into fall, we're in fall, we're going into winter. They won't be used as much as they would in spring and summer, I'm assuming, or do people play pickleball all winter long?
Ask the pickleball players.
Yes,
They're there all the time. Now,
they're addicted.
Yeah.
we did it now because we didn't want to do anything during the summer. It is packed down
Yeah.
there. And then I also have to work with Buildings and Grounds, who's tremendously busy to pull this up.
Absolutely.
So I asked them, once Labor Day hit, I said, when you have time, can you please do it? So we can get the estimates going. They did it pretty quick. I give them
So
credit.
this is
They
a
really
good
did.
time, this is a perfect time.
This is the
for you to
perfect
be
time to
working
do it.
on
Now,
That's what I'm getting at.
we haven't received complaints yet because we just closed them down last week. But it is getting cooler, so they're not gonna play as much. They also have the hockey rink over at Statsky Park to use for pickleball. So we felt this was the right time to do it. Our hope was Land Tech, and Land Tech has reserved the spot for us in October to start all the projects. They have to do the ones at Veterans Park, the pickleball courts there. They have Bayberry to do as well. and then the South Jamesport. South Jamesport, to me, is the one I asked them to prioritize because of the emails and the calls I'm getting.
So the good news would be that come springtime, these will be ready to use full force.
Yeah, I'm
wide
hoping
open.
by
Yeah.
October we
Yeah.
have them done.
Okay.
That's if I can, there's a lot of paperwork involved in
in
here.
the dog park.
Well, that's just a matter of a permit, so to me, I'm moved on from that as far as, I know it's coming, I know Ken's on top of it. So, the playground at Veterans Park, we need it, we do. But I'm hoping the next round of funds come in, maybe in the spring, and then we can go ahead. I have the estimate for the playground I had them already assess the ground, I had them already give me a quote for that. And this is with this nice surfacing underneath, so we don't have to put the chips down. So we got it about $160,000 for that. But if I can change that and apply it to the tennis courts, and then when we get the next round of funding in, we can go ahead and order the playground at Vets Park. I'm just trying to prioritize things, that's all. I'm like an
We have
EMT,
more community benefit monies coming anyway down
Yes.
the road, so I mean,
Yeah, what was told to me was originally $350,000, that's what I projected. Now, again, I misinterpreted some of the things Anne-Marie's been wonderful with this. She's been an advocate for recreation with so many different things. And when she had called me about the playground, I had thought this was for the next round of payments. I just misinterpreted what she said, and when she had put in the resolution, it was, at that point, I was just praying that the tiles would just come under the $60,000 that we had left. So that's my request to the town board, if we can just move the money, 160, back into the Park and Rec Fund, and at least the fund South Jamesport. That would cover both the fence and the tennis court, and get that done right away. I don't know how the town board feels about the cupola. I know it's a very important project.
Yes, it is.
So I don't wanna, I'm not requesting it, but I'm just showing you where we're at with Stotsky as well. So I can hold off on that and just wait for the money to come in. Whatever the town board recommends, I'm on top of.
Has the 160 been encumbered already for the playground?
No, it's not. That's why I came today.
That's an interesting question, because then we don't have to go forward with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, I have the quotes, it's sitting in a file. American Recreation does that for us. When we give them the PO, they'll order the material, which it takes at least, and this time with the Iron Pier, because everything's backed up since COVID, it took 7-8 weeks just to get the unit here. So even if we were to order the playground for Veterans Park now, it would not come to November, December, and you're not gonna see kids on the
materials
playground
are
at that point.
way
yeah.
behind on every
Yeah,
project.
it's, even with the Land Tech projects now, they're so busy, and they cannot do anything until we give them PO. That's our rule and that's their rule. So they still have to order materials and stuff like that, and they said it's just taking time. But they're trying to rearrange their schedule, because I reiterate to them, South Jamesport has to get done, and it just has to get done, because, like I said, I can send you the emails I get from the pickleball players from there. Very nice, but
They're intense.
very intense, yeah.
Ray, just to go back to Iron Pier, it was waiting on that to get, for the playground to arrive, right? That was what held us up there.
The playground took forever to come in.
Right. 'Cause
Um,
originally you thought it was coming in,
May.
like,
May,
right,
yeah.
and then it ended up coming in September.
Yeah, and I'm like, guys, what's going on? They're like, it's just been delayed. It usually takes 5 weeks for a playground
Right.
to come in. This was 7, 8, even 9 weeks, I think, it finally came in. It came in, let's say, they just installed it on Monday, so it came in, I think, a week or two prior to that. Came in
Right.
September 1st.
And
That's
I
exactly
am
when it
gonna
arrived.
say that it's really very exciting to see it up, and look forward to that dedication.
Yeah, it's all roped off, so nobody can touch it until, we still have to put sand underneath
Thank you for
it.
getting that done.
Yes, and I'd like to thank B&G again. They came in and timed it right, and they pulled the other unit, because I asked them to do it. I didn't want to do it during the summer, because we would definitely hear it. I asked them to do it by Labor Day, after Labor Day. They got on there within a week, and that's not an easy task. They got to remove and discard a playground, which is a lot of work, and then I had to come back in and excavate the sand, which is not an easy job, and they did
Right,
it
and
in
it
time
was-
for this.
When we looked at it, it was really grown up there, when Ken and I were there looking. But it looks like it came out really great, and I know that Carrie's family are very pleased, so I look
Yeah,
forward to
it-
moving forward with that.
Um,
But pickleball, going back to pickleball, Pickleball is really popular, and are you seeing that continue, that trend?
It's the most popular sport we have now. Every time we have a pickleball clinic or it sells out, it's almost like, I don't want to say, this may be a bad choice of words, like a cult following. There are so many people involved in this now, and they are tough. They are tough people. Even when we put the standings out or we do this type of league, they are very competitive. You see them down there all the time, all the
Well,
time.
it's a good thing. It's good for people to get out and get healthy.
It's a great sport. I think is Bill here? He's getting into it now. In fact, I want him to challenge Anne Marie once we get those courts up. Anne Marie's a very good
Anne Marie
pickleball player
plays-
too.
plays-
I know where I bet my money
Very
on.
intense player.
And I am gonna say,
No, I'm talking about how good you are at pickleball.
I know where my money is.
by the way, you just threw down the gauntlet for a pickleball match between you and Bill. And
Yeah, I
I'm
said
gonna-
that with you before.
And I'm gonna chime in that, because I've been privy to it, Anne Marie knows how to get stuff done when it comes to recreation.
She's very good, and very fast, and sometimes too fast for me. But that's what you need around here, because in government, you need to move quick with these projects, and I love having her in my
Little
corner.
NCs
Trust
in
me.
there.
The only other option I thought of is maybe, because we did not move forward on this, maybe I could take some of the money from Bayberry. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, but just to get that done, we could get the basketball court done and hold off on the tennis courts at Bayberry. They won't be too happy down there, but I'm just thinking of any option that I have with the current funds that we are working with.
I say no way to that.
Okay.
We gotta take care of Bayberry. Sorry.
Lives in waiting.
No, I want them all done. I'm just trying to figure this out because, again, we anticipated 20,000 for these courts. We even got quotes of 15 to 16,000 to resurface it. If everything was perfect, it's not. It's in horrible shape. And when we put those tiles in about 12, 13 years ago, and it wasn't great underneath before, but we had them patched up. They just got really worn down, I guess, through the tiles through the years.
Well, you're the expert and you're the department head, and you are telling us or advising us that this is the timing that needs to happen, based on materials, based on how bad the courts are, and how other things can wait until, I can definitely stand beside you on that, that's not an issue.
Whenever there's the next round of funding, like you say, what,
Yeah.
time you order a playground, it's probably a little obsolete to put it in January, you know?
Yeah, at
So
this
maybe-
stage,
maybe
ordering
that- Maybe that could be a
Yeah.
May project, and let's get this other one done, so it might just be about switching up the order, accommodate everything.
That's all I'm asking, yeah.
Well,
just
what
to-
about park and rec fees? I mean, we do have a lot of things moving forward. What about utilizing park and rec fees? That's exactly what they're for.
The
And we have a lot
62,000
of-
is all we have left.
But we
There's
have a lot of projects in the hopper. Emery, do you want to talk about that a minute, please?
So Ray, this is.
Emery's always good about advocating for the park and rec.
She's been excellent at Park and Rec, trust me.
So,
my favorite.
one of the things Ray and I coincidentally were emailing back and forth about, and Councilman Bayrod and I have talked about this as well, as have you, and I did inform Ray that you really advocated on 331 for the Park and Rec fees.
Yes, thank you for that.
So, Ray and I talked about it and emailed over the last 2 days. We have projects that are coming fast and furious. One of them, even 205. And so Ray and I are going to work on assisting planning in doing a report. And as long as we can create a nexus from the development site to the park benefit that we're seeking to create with the Park and Recreation funds, and we make that appropriate record and report as part of the site plan, because you can't just demand
Right.
fees.
You have to say why.
Correct, and you really have to do a report and analysis of why. And so my thought moving forward, that Ray and I are going to do that report
We
to
are.
assist planning and ask the town board not to let that go, because we do need it. And for instance, you got Stotsky Park, which is really central, almost really walkable from downtown. And those improvements there really could have been being picked up by Park and Recreation fees. We also have the Town Square project going on, And while Dawn and I are very confident that a public-private partnership is going to achieve a lot of the goals for that, quote, town square public park-like property, you're going to need additional investment likely for the type of improvements that I foresee this town board would want to see there. So anyway, we were talking about that, and probably before I walk back in, I'm sure you shared with the town board that I shared with you, we have Solar 2
Yes.
coming. I've shared with the entire town board probably 2 months ago my proposed draft. Bob is working on putting together the totality of the package, which would include the easement, the pilot, and the community benefit agreement. The way I worded that agreement, and because, I can't speak to how quick that'll occur. However, the way I worded it, within 5 days of execution, first half of the money's due. So that could be and I created a similar category, and I want you and I to debate
And,
it. A similar category wherein I propose funding in the amount of $500,000 for community health and welfare. And the reason why I just looked at Ray is, we were having
We have some fun emails going back and forth
Oh,
the last
yeah.
couple of days.
slamming each other around because I was reminding
All
him.
respectfully, though.
Yes, I was reminding him it's not totally for recreation. It's community projects. Does that include recreation? Absolutely.
It's several categories.
Correct. But that category alone, I recommended to the town board 500,000. Why? Because I know there's a lot of community projects and recreation projects that Ray wants to tackle.
And that adds to health and welfare.
That's correct.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And just so the public knows that we are anticipating $2,180,000 in the community benefit funds, and that could be easily distributed. And we could just have a conversation with the board with emails and discuss this further, right? Okay?
Correct.
Yeah, listen,
Okay,
like I
so-
said, I originally misinterpreted this particular resolution, the funds, because I thought it was coming from another solar project, but moving forward, I'm just gonna work directly with Anne Marie, exactly knowing what money's coming in, and, because you see the projects underneath, that's just for this year, we still have a lot more beyond that. But I can get estimates little by little in the priority order, and then wait for the funds to come in, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
And just to go back to the park and rec fees, for people who are watching and don't know what we're referring to, when subdivisions come in or residential apartments downtown, that as per our code, they are required to pay, I believe it's $3,000 per unit, to the town for parks and recreation. I mean, you think about if you have an
7?
apartment building, those people need recreation and they need parks, so they pay into, the developer pays into this. But there is a little discrepancy that we've had as to when that is requested, because I always feel like it should be requested when we're doing the site plan. Anne Marie, do you want to just address that?
100%.
I know, and I think we're going a little off the topic, and we have a press conference right after this, so we can always discuss.
Yeah, she's almost done.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
finish that last thing.
100%. And
I
just to
just-
be really clear, under our code, a developer could either do a set-aside if planning department, planning board, town board thinks that's appropriate and there's adequate land first set aside for a park, or in the alternative, it would be $3,000 per unit. And it should be at the time planning is looking at the project.
Right, and when you're
It's
looking
a
at
built-in component.
a large apartment building, that's a sizable amount of money. So that's something that we collect, hopefully move forward
I'll take it anyway, I'll dig up
use. And
money
I
for
know
that.
you're getting ready to wrap up, so I just wanted to say really quickly that last Saturday was a really great Riverhead Day. We had the homecoming parade, we had the homecoming game where the Blue Waves won.
You go fishing?
And, pardon me?
You go fishing? We had the fishing tournament.
I went to the snapper tournament, which is
You were
really
there?
cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I do have to commend the people that put together the Oktoberfest. That was really amazing and so well attended, and it was great to see so many people in Grantsville Park enjoying our beautiful park.
And
So
the
I want
sup-
to say thank you to everybody that put that together.
And the
And the litter
supervisor
cleanup.
got to meet my aunt, because I brought her down to the Oktoberfest.
Did you like my hat?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
No, I love
Well,
that.
well, I
My
have
hat
to say
was a
that.
hit.
I have to say that. You're asking me on the record.
Do you have a bratwurst?
Okay.
So just to conclude, I can, where the town board has directed me to.
Yes, I agree with the 160 for the playground, set it aside, and do the things that have been taken apart and need to be worked on right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
First and foremost.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
You,
it.
Ray.
Thank you.
If I may, so Ray, if you can just send me an updated email based on the conversation, but am I trying to get this in for Tuesday? Is that the rush here?
As soon as possible, so I gotta, the only reason is I gotta get this
That's
done
not
in
a problem,
October,
right?
yeah.
We all
That's
agree?
fine.
Yep.
I
You
just want to
getting
make
it?
sure. It
That's
won't-
fine, Bill.
I probably won't get it to the board till later tomorrow because we're still working on our
Okay.
budget today.
No
that's
problem.
I know, I'm sorry for the timing, Bill.
So can I put
Whatever you
in,
need, okay.
can I put in a late amended resolution,
Yes.
changing
No,
the
no.
designation?
He used up the last late fee permit that we have, so you, no. Absolutely.
Okay,
Tim's being
perfect.
hard.
Okay,
I'm fine.
great, thank you.
Hey, the tickets are for Miami Jets, we have it out, if you wanna go.
Thank you both.
The way they're both playing, these tickets should be paying people to go to.
I agree, exactly. We didn't sell a lot, we were supposed to sell a lot, but we didn't sell a lot, so I might have some extras left over.
That's interesting.
That was a nice shot
Oh, we
there.
gotta do that.
All right, thanks, guys,
All right,
appreciate it.
thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to resolutions. Devin, are you
Yes.
ready?
Everybody ready?
Great.
Okay, resolution number 1, appoints a justice court clerk. Number 2, appoints a part-time office assistant. Number 3, ratifies authorization for supervisor to execute addendum agreement with FC Watson Land Surveyors PC in connection with Safe Routes to School.
Yay.
Number 4, ratifies agreement with FC Watson Land Surveyor PC for surveying services in connection with Town Square demolition. Number 5, authorizes town clerk to publish and post bid for restoration of cupola at George Young Community Center. Number 6, awards bid for police uniform items. Number 7, authorizes an employee to attend hazmat tech training. Number 8, adopts local law to amend Chapter 207 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Animals. Number 9, ratifies the provisional appointment of a buildings maintenance manager. Number 10, budget adoption for community benefit funds open space projects. Number 11, authorizes the supervisor to sign a professional services agreement for services rendered in connection with the Railroad Avenue Transit-Oriented Development Project RFQ and RFQ Committee. Number 12, classifies site plan application for the Suffolk Theater Edition as a Type 1 action pursuant to SECRA and requests lead agency status for the purposes of coordinated SECRA review, 118 East Main Street, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-129-1-8.4. And number 13, sets elected official salaries for 2022.
That was short.
Short list today, short and
Very, very
sweet,
short.
like me.
Thank you, Devin. Appreciate it. Okay, we don't have anything for executive session today, so can I have a first and a second to go, to close the town work session, actually?
Late for motion?
Okay,
Second.
perfect. Thank you. Everyone, be safe, and any concerns, seniors, we are taking, we're compiling a list for our boosters. Once we get them, we will call you. So you can call the office and put yourself on the list. And that's all we have for today. Everyone, be safe, and thank you again.